Hi, everyone. Welcome back. So we will talk about measurement for this video. We are going to learn some important concepts and learn the reliability and validity and the roles they play for an instrument or a scale. So important concepts. Let's begin with variables. We talk about variables in the week of statistics. Variables are the building blocks of research. A variable is anything that can take on different values among individuals, such as gender. They are not just abstract concepts, they need to be observable and measurable. Like the risk of child abuse in a family, which could be gauged using a score on the family risk scale. Moving deeper, we encounter constructs, which are abstract concepts like love or self-esteem. They do not exist tangibly, but are crucial in shaping our understanding of the human experience. Constructs must be operationalized to be measured, such as operationalizing intelligence through an IQ score. There are two kinds of concepts. Concrete concepts usually exist in the outside world and are tangibly things like a chair or a rock. The number of times someone has been arrested, these are concepts that are not questionable. Abstract concepts. These are categories of things we cannot directly observe or quantify directly, like moods or mental states, happiness, sadness, anger, or fear. Conceptualization is our next step, where we define what we mean when we use specific terms. For example, when we talk about acculturation, we are referring to a specific definition and scale. This helps us avoid ambiguity in our research. A concept may consist of multiple dimensions. For instance, social status could include wealth, prestige, or power. These are all dimensions of the broader concept. When dimensions are not directly observable, we rely on indicators, such as the number of people someone supervises as an indicator of power. Indicators serve as tangible promises for dimensions that are otherwise not directly observable. They are the measurable elements that allow us to quantify abstract concepts and thus conduct empirical research. I'll give you several examples. First, the number of people under your supervision offers a quantifiable indicator of authority. Second, your annual income budget may reflect your influence within the organization, with larger budgets implying greater power if possible. Another example is the amount of equipment under your control is another indicator, suggesting a level of responsibility and decision-making power. So each indicator provides a concrete measure to an aspect of the power dimension, enable researchers to gather data, analyze relationships, and draw conclusions of the impact of power dynamic within an organization. As we move forward, it's crucial to select indicators that are not only relevant and representative of the dimension in question, but also reliable and valid measure to ensure the integrity of our research findings. Compare concept dimension indicator. A concept is high level, often complex ideas that are not directly observable, such as well-being is highly abstract and requires careful definition before it can be used in research. For example, well-being could include mental health, physical health, social connections, and economic stability. And dimension break down these concepts into more specific, yet still abstract elements. So for example, the social connections aspect of the well-being could be considered dimension. It is less abstract than well-being, but still not directly measurable. Indicators are concrete, observable measures that signify the presence or extent of the dimensions we are interested in. They bring your concept into a realm of tangible. For social connections, an indicator might be the frequency of interactions with friends or the number of close friends and individual reports. So if we are investigating the well-being of social workers, we might examine several dimensions, such as job satisfaction and support network. Within job satisfaction, indicators could include the number of hours worked, feeling of accomplishment, or stress levels, all measurable elements that give substance to the abstract concept. Operationalization is a bridge that connects abstract concept to the practical measurable entities. This step extends conceptualization by specifying concrete measures that represent the value of cases on a variable that's aligned with our concept. It is how we translate the abstract into measurable. For example, if our study focuses on the concept of job satisfaction among social workers, operationalization could include identifying specific indicators of job satisfaction. This could include the number of cases a social worker feels comfortable handling, or the degree of autonomy they experience in their role, or their sense of achievement, or their reported level of work-related stress. We might measure these indicators using a survey with scaled questions, allowing us to transform subjective experiences into quantifiable data. Now let's operationalize a concept like social class. We can define it using observable measures or indicators, such as income level, educational attainment, or job title. This is the heart of turning abstract concept into tangible data we can analyze. So here I listed the operationalizing concept from step to step. So still consider the concept of social class. I will walk you through the steps. So social class can be rich in meanings and interpretations. For research purposes, we need to distill it into specific dimensions we can measure. So for our study, we can focus on economic differences, specifically income as a dimension of social class. Next, we advance to the nominal definition, where we articulate what we mean by income. Here, it represents the economic capital an individual has access to over a year. The operational definition stage is where we determine how we will measure these economic differences. We might ask participants to report their annual income before taxes in the previous year, providing a concrete figure that represents this aspect of social class. And then finally, we transit this definition into measurement in the real world. This is done by asking a straightforward question in our survey. What was your annual income before taxes last year? So this respondent's answer to this question gives us a quantitative measure that we can analyze in relation to social class. So walking through this example, we observe the journey from a broad abstract concept to a specific measurable data. This operationalization is a bedrock that allows to gather and analyze data with precision and validity, drawing meaningful conclusions that can inform social work practice. So I think this slide is super important. Remembering this example, like showing how you walk through from the first stage to the last stage is very inspiring. So it's essential to be mindful about biases. The very simple example is like when we operationalizing concept like domestic violence, we must consider these nuances to ensure our research is inclusive and representative. Because what we consider normal behavior in one culture may be viewed differently in another. There's no wrong or right answer. So I also keep the reflection exercise in this slide. That's what we did for in-person sessions, but we are going to skip all the reflection exercise here. We have methods of measuring operationalization. So self-report is one. So for example, we could ask couples how satisfied they are with marriage. They can provide a Likert scale from 1 to 7 to indicate their satisfaction, and the client would give you with their perception of satisfaction. This kind of standardized scale are also used for self-report, but they are often scales of some kind of have been psychometrically tested and normed on a population. Other instruments are not standardized, which means they are not psychometrically tested and normed on a population. So when you read an article, you might pay attention to if they are psychometrically tested and normed on the population. We will talk more about this later on some characteristic of this standardized. So we can also measure through observation. The researcher conceptualize a variable. So for example, if we want to measure the concept of parenting, we would have to distinguish between the various forms of parenting and then create the observation tool, looking for behavior consistent with the forms we have identified in the observation tool. So in practice, remember, we don't always need to create a new instrument. Even for my own research, I still using instrument scale from 1970s. But because the language updates and culture changes, we may need to update those scales with using the new group of population. But again, we need to test the psychometrically tested the scale and see if it's still normed among the population. So we can rely on existing measures that have been validated and standardized, available through literature review and specialized database. What you are capable of do is to know how to find existing scales and if they are qualified to be used for your study. Okay, so reliability is a very important concept when we talk about scale or instruments. Reliability is about consistency. These 4 words you should remember. You should always remember reliability is about consistency. So if a scale gives you different readings each time you step on it, it's not reliable. In research, a measurement is reliable if it consistently produces the same results under the same condition. So when we talk about moving concepts into variables that we can measure, we need to think about the reliability of the tools like scales we are using. The scales may be non-reliable. For example, if I want to weight myself on a scale on 3 successful occasions, and it's measured like 75 points, 100 points, and 150 pounds, think about this. Would you consider that this scale is reliable? No, right? Because the tools is giving me 3 different weights. They are significantly different weights and may not reflect the variability of my weight. And the responses are too diverse with this tool, 95, 100, and then 150. So the tool is not consistent. It's not consistent. So it's not reliable. It is not giving me the same answer when I use it. So reliability is the consistency of a measurement. It is a matter of whether a particular technique or instrument, if applied repeatedly, would give me the same result over time. Reliability has to do with the amount of random error in a measurement. The more reliable the measurement, the less random error it has. So remember, there are 2 most common types of reliability that are reported in an article or papers. The first one is inter-rater reliability, or called inter-observer reliability. We use this a lot when we do research. This has to do with the level of agreement among raters. So if, for example, like 2 faculties read the application for admission, and one rates the applicant like 80 and the other give like 83, that would consider a pretty high level of inter-rater reliability. If one gives 80, the other gives 50, and there's not like really low level of inter-rater reliability. Another kind is retask reliability. This deals with how stable a measure is over time. Retask reliability means if you give someone the same task at another time, the 2 scores should be correlated, like high correlated, meaning that the scores should stay relatively the same over time. So internal consistent reliability assess whether the items of a measure are internally consistent. There are some different types to assess internal consistency. So we will see what you need to learn or remember for this concept is called coefficient alpha or no Cronbach alpha. You will always learn this term when you read the paper. It is the most common and powerful methods of determining internal reliability. I know this is a little bit difficult, but I want you to remember, like, coefficient alpha is internal consistency. It's a test for internal consistency. It determines internal reliability. What is internal reliability? It tells us whether the items, for example, all the questions in the survey of a measurement of a scale are internally consistent. We don't calculate this number by hand. We use software such as SPSS. The software gives you a number. So for example, if the number is like 0.9 or above, it's considered an excellent score to show consistency. So if it's around like 75, it's still considered really good. So it means the instrument has a high level of internal reliability. So it's called internal reliability. Okay, the next keyword is validity. Validity is concerned with accuracy, okay? So remember, validity is about accuracy. It tells us, does our instrument measure what it's supposed to do? For example, if we are measuring happiness, does our happiness scale truly reflect the construct of happiness, or it is measuring something else? So we need to ask the question, if the scale or the instrument adequately, accurately reflect the real meaning of this construct, that's involved validity. So the validity types are kind of abstract and challenging to really understand. I'll try my best. So face validity is somewhat like the first impression of a measure. It's about the measure looking like it accepts the concept it's supposed to do. So let's say we are looking at a scale designed to measure stress. At the first glance, does it ask questions that seem relevant to assessing stress? Like inquiries, questions about sleep quality or attention levels? This kind of validity is more about a subjective judgment rather than an empirical test. On the other hand, content validity, so we get into the meat of the concept, is about how well the measure includes the entire range of the concept meaning. So for example, if we are measuring quality of life, does our survey include questions about physical health, mental health, well-being, social relationship, or economic status? This is not just a first impression. It requires a detailed examination to ensure we are covering all facets of the concept. It's often established by expert judgment. So researchers may consult with professionals who can evaluate whether the question in the survey really captures the essence of what's being studied. Another one is criterion-related validity. So we are talking about how well one measure forecasts an outcome or matches an established benchmark. For example, predictive validity. If you want to know how well you will do in a college, you might look at your SAT score. SAT score could be predictive validity. Those scores are trying to give you a heads up on the future academic performance. Another is concurrent validity. What does it mean? It means you compare a new measurement or a new scale to an old, reliable one. So think about this. You've got a fresh new quiz to measure depression, and you want to see if it is still as good as the CES-D, a test has been around for years. So you check to see if you both give similar results for the same people at the same time for both scales. So these both tabs, we are linking our measures to something else, either future results or current standards. When these connections are strong, we can trust our tools more, which is more crucial in research. Construct validity is like detective work of research. You've got this abstract idea, a construct that you cannot measure straight up, like intelligence and anxiety. You cannot see it or touch it, but you know it's there doing the thing. So you will create a tool to measure it. But how do you know it's actually measuring what you think it is? You've got to put it to the test against the established tool that are already out there, the ones everyone trusts. If you are new to measures up, then you are on the right track. So think of trying to measure the chill vibe of a party. There's no vibe or meter. So you check out how much folks are laughing, the playlist, the amount of snacks consumed. If this line up with what a good party is supposed to have, then your party vibe construct is looking solid. This slide forward is so important. This tells you the difference between reliability and validity. Well, reliability is about consistency. Validity is about truthfulness. So a measure can be reliable without being valid, and can be valid without being reliable. It's a delicate dance to ensure that our measures are both consistent and accurate. So reliability does not ensure validity. A measure can be reliable but not valid. It can be either reliable nor valid. It can be valid and reliable. So we'll see the visual aids about this. There are 3 pictures here. We can show the first one from left hand. It shows reliable but not valid. Why? Because it's all about very tight pattern on the right upper hands. It shows consistency, so it's reliable, but it's not valid. Why? Because they're not close to the target. So they are reliable but not valid. The second one in the middle is they're not valid or reliable. Why? Because they are everywhere and they are not being close to the target, and all the shots are not consistent. So the last one is good. The last one is consistently target to the center. So they are valid and reliable. So we can tell from all this comparison is reliability does not ensure validity. So this is the end of this measurement. If you have any questions, feel free to email me.